welcome back to another episode of Tea and Biscuits. My name's Bizz, and my car is running. Like, share and subscribe and join me on this journey as we prepare for the rolling road. So I'm super excited to show you this. Boop, 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 boop. This is a successful print. Look at that, no warp at all. Really happy with that. This is the bracket for the intercooler, obviously custom made, to sit the two pegs for the intercooler and then some screw holes to mount that onto the metal framework. So really excited to get this on, and this is while I'm waiting for Every to deliver my intercooler hard pipe work. So it's good that this has worked. Took 4 attempts, lots of tweaks and stuff, but I'm glad I've got this in. So let's get this done and let's keep progressing. Don't have long, literally just over a week until the rolling road.
Using the bracket as a template, I mark up the holes, drill the holes using an old failed print to stop me putting a drill bit through the front of the radiator. We don't want to be doing that. Then it's a case of nuts, bolts, standing back and admiring it.
I want to do a little bit about why I designed this bracket the way that I did, just in case I haven't made it pretty clear or it's not too obvious. So this bracket is a 90 degree, it's 3D printed, but obviously the plastic itself, even though I put these ribs in here, is very likely to crack across here, okay? Because it's going to sit on here and flex. So the way that I've got around that is by reinforcing it with this aluminium. So this aluminium is obviously quite strong, certainly going to add some extra strength and rigidity across this 90 degree bracket here. Okay, so by letting the aluminium sit inside this slot and come up, it reinforces these ribs and all of this here, which inherently, even if I printed this at a funny angle, probably 45 degrees back, to allow the layers to do this, probably would have been a weakness across here. So it means I'm not so worried about the way that these sit on here. So that's it going on here. Something like this, okay? So the other thing that I've done as well is if these snapped off, I didn't want the intercooler to kind of be able to come off and move all over the place, right? So there's 2 other things that I've done. I've introduced a screw at the bottom to again kind of allow for the reinforcement to really transfer through the aluminium. So clamping up tight on this central bolt as well as these 2 either side. It also goes through the aluminium here, and also one of the legs, one of the pegs for the intercooler go through here. So that means that even if it breaks off, snaps here and here, it doesn't matter because it's being held onto the bottom piece by the aluminium, and the intercooler can't go anywhere because it actually goes through the aluminium as well. So the aluminium and the injection molded component need to fail before anything really happens here. So it secures it all up, it gives it an extra lug here, secures the aluminium a bit more. The plastic is obviously a soft contact patch with the intercooler as well, so it's not going to wear them lugs, them pegs, and it just finishes it off and makes it all good and proper. So I'm just going to clamp this up, and then I can get the intercooler on for the final time. Using washers as well, just to spread the load a little bit. Not necessarily the clamping force, but also the way that the nut could rotate on the plastic, it could start to separate it and add residual stress into the plastic. So it's really trying to care for plastic as much as possible. These are all things that if you're working with 3D printed parts, you do need to consider. Washers for the plastic contact patch. Put domed nuts on the back of this facing the radiator. I don't really know why. It was just something that seemed right to do. You're wondering why I put this little cut into here? It's because the intercooler has got a chamfer that runs on it. So I just needed to give myself a little bit of leeway on this edge here. Ah, there's me thinking I was clever enough to remember which way is which. See, that's the aluminium bracket flexing. No real load on that plastic at all. Really shores that up nicely. Really happy with the way that's come out after a gazillion prints which failed. So that's in here. And then I'm just going to put a bit of foam, I think. Nice bit of foam. Drop that on. Oh, Bizz. It's like it was made to measure, mate. It's like it was made to measure. In fact, you know what? I'm going to change that. Helps if it's all dry and nice and clean. That is spot on, that. Really happy with the way that's come out. In the true way that YouTube was born with silly things like unboxing. We are going to unbox what I got today. The first thing, doesn't need much unboxing, just a bit of bubble wrap. But that is 51mm aluminium tube. What's the next bit? It's like a blind bag. Blind bag. Ooh, that's a 45-degree reducer. 56 to 51, something like that. 57 to 51, let's have a look. 57 to 51, should really know that. From Auto Silicon Hoses. Use them a fair bit. Decent bit of kit. Oh, it's a T-piece, 25mm. Again 51mm, because that's what I'm running on my boosts. We know what goes on there, don't we? What goes on there is adjustable blow-off valve. So we can dial in the boost, vacuum line there, gets in there. Lovely. Oh, this is a rare one. Oh, wow. 135-degree, 51 to 51. Look at that bad boy. Yeah, that's my unboxing. Nice little tip for you. Put a Jubilee clip around here and it just gives this silicone hose some more stability because it hoop stress closes this in and keeps it, it's actually quite rigid underneath there because it can't deform into an oval in any direction. Nice sharp blade. We're just going to go in. This is how I cut myself, by the way, earlier, so obviously be super careful. I'm just going to... There we go. You can just use Jubilee clip as a guide. And also gives you... Whoa! See what I'm saying? Dangerous game, this. Jubilee clip also gives you a nice perpendicular cut around. Oh my gosh, I'm really wary now that slipped. I bet you're wincing while watching this. Trust me, if you could see my face, I'm wincing while doing it myself. Misaligned a little bit, but that's very neat in comparison to if you do it with a hacksaw. This is one actually I did earlier with a hacksaw and then remembered that this is not the way that I did it. You see, that's a lot worse and furry in comparison to that. I'll take this little knock. I think this is cut down to size now. I need to try it on, see how it goes. So I've started to put the tubes in place, measure and cut some of these down. So I'm just working back from the supercharger really. So I've nibbled this one down. This is now coming out a bit tighter than it was. Instead of coming all the way out here beforehand, it was coming all the way out here then round. So I've pushed it in against the supercharger by just cutting this end down. So it now comes down underneath this one. And I've just nibbled this one here as well. You can see it was this long, now it's this long, so now that's not too bad. A little rotation, a little bit of bending up maybe needed, and that's that one done. And then this one, well, this one's going to be a bit more of a pickle. You can see that's not lining up, but I'm thinking, what am I thinking at the moment? Maybe cut this down, and that should kind of, no, I don't want to cut this down. I don't know what I'm doing with this one yet. But this is this one here. This is where I am at the moment. Now, you may ask why I have these crossing over, right? Because it's coming out of the supercharger, down into this side, down the intercooler, back up again. So there's actually a crossover here. Well, there's two reasons why. Number one, for me, this feature here I find interesting, this 45 degree here. Now this may be something to do with the just the packaging within the Renault 5, I don't know. But in my head, what actually happens here is you can see the weld here underneath the duct tape, right? So this chamber is this big. So that means that these fins here are going to be the ones that are going to be used. And look at that, look. There's a deflection angle here at 45. So air for me behaves exactly the same as sound, behaves exactly the same as water. And if you've seen water ripple around and things like that, what's going to happen is this air is going to come down this chamber only. Yeah, and then it's going to bounce off of this 45 degree. It's then going to open up and come up this wider channel before going up. And for me, I think that flow seems better rather than coming into a big channel, hitting a hard flat 90 degree surface, trying to do a turn, and then go up a smaller one. We've got compression going on there of the air, which is going to generate heat as well. And generally expansion cools things down, right? So again, we've got air and then it's kind of expanding into a bigger chamber. So I may be overthinking this. I don't think I am. But for me, that's why I've done it the way that I have, is because I want the correct flow in my intercooler. Open to suggestions, because realistically, I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm just winging it and using my engineering knowledge. Let's crack on, see how it goes. So I've been beavering away, just checking the silicone hoses, cutting them down to length, cutting down my first tube. But obviously the silicone hoses can slip off of here. So, opportunity for a new tool. Quite surprised at the quality of this. I thought it was going to be Chinese junk. We'll see how it actually performs. But this is a tube beader. So it goes in the vise, hopefully. Crank handle on the back, hopefully, and then you feed the tube into here, and as you can see here, it's just going to make a profile within the tube. So when the tube goes in like that, wind this out a bit, tube goes in, it's going to sit like this, and the two wheels are then going to be pressed together, and it's going to bead an edge all the way around to stop the silicone hose from coming off. So never used one before. First time I've owned one of these tools. We'll see how it goes. What I do know is it's just going to be run it once, tighten up that screw, wind it again, tighten up the screw, wind it again, and just slowly deform this aluminium. There's no way that this is going to have the pressure. This is not a hydraulic tool to be able to do that in one foul movement. So it's going to be lots of rotations round. Yeah, so I'm quite excited to see how it goes. So let's go. Nice, look at that. Really happy with that. Probably didn't need to go that much. Anyway, that is it. There you go. Yeah, happy with that. Just started to stretch the material and deform it to the point where it looks like it's not really propagating cracks per se. It's just starting to maybe fracture on the surface very slightly. The inside is very smooth, very good. Very happy with that. Look at that. Factory, that. Not factory, better than factory. And that's it, first one on. Just nice and home. Plenty of depth on there. Really happy with that. It's exactly the way that a boost line should be run. Smooth, straight, minimum silicone. I could have chopped that down maybe a little bit. I could probably still do that, I've got plenty here. Now it gets complicated with this one. So this one at the moment, I was kind of just hoping I can almost just get there with that. So that's how it wants to sit. That is perfect. Anything away from that. I think I might cut this piece of metal first and just see where it wants to go. I wonder if I could just go straight onto like here somewhere. Something like that's going to work. Cut that down. And then that's an oval there. Oh man! Let's get that lifted up. Let's go 30. I can slide that in as a trial fit.
With a chop true and a trim tree, the aluminium tubes are bead rolled and put in place. Just need to add Jubilee clips. Really happy with the way this has turned out. Nice and straight, simple, exactly what I wanted. The radiators are all plumbed in, all looking good. I'm really happy again with the way that this has turned out. I need to trim down this bracket here and simplify it now that I know I don't need any more material. But overall it's just a case of getting all of this back off again for two reasons. One, because I want to give the front end a nice clean up while I've got it all off and have the opportunity to check over the nuts and the bolts as I refit everything back on. So we're pretty much there. If you haven't already, check out my previous episodes and see why I'm doing what I'm doing. We're going to go to the rolling road, visit other drivers at racetracks, 3D printing tutorials, but please subscribe, like, share. I've been Bizzle, this is Tea and Biscuits, see you next week.